Hello, my name is Manuel Calvo, and in this video article, we will review how to run Kafka Mirror Maker using Kerberos clusters. Let's go to the agenda. As a first step, we will provide you a quick description of Kafka Mirror Maker. Then, I will show you the configurations needed to get configured Kafka Mirror Maker. And as a final step, we will run an example so you can see how Kafka Mirror Maker works. So let's see a quick description of Kafka Mirror Maker. The process of replicating data between Kafka clusters is called mirroring, and a common use of Kafka Mirror Maker is to maintain a separate copy of Kafka clusters in different data centers. Kafka Mirror Maker tools is basically a consumer producer that the consumer goes to the cluster A and it connects to the topics that you specify, and it gets the data from there and it produces the data to the cluster B. So all the messages received by a topic in cluster A will be available in the cluster B and the same topic. The source and destination clusters are completely independent, so they can have different numbers of partitions and different offsets. The important thing is to have the same topic names. So let's go to the configuration so I can show you my environment and then the Mirror Maker configuration steps. So in the configuration steps, first I would like to show you my cluster configurations. I have a cluster A, which is my source cluster, and it's Kerberized. And then I have my cluster B, which is my destination cluster, and also is Kerberized. Both are sharing the same KDC. And as you can see, the difference between these clusters is the first number. In this case, the source cluster has C189, and the cluster B has C289. So let's go to a terminal so I can show you the files and the commands that we have to execute in order to configure the Kafka Mirror Maker. Here, I have two terminals. The first one is C289, and C289 is my destination cluster. So in this case, I will receive the data from cluster A, which is in this case the C189. And let me show you in the destination which files do we have to configure in order to run Mirror Maker. In my case, as explained before, I created a specific principal in the KDC in order to run the Mirror Maker, and I just get this key tab, and this is the content of the key tab. So the principal name that it will be in use for this client connection, it will be this. And now I already have a ticket for this user. So let's go to the other files. Then I have the Kafka Mirror Maker just.conf. Okay, so let me show you the content of this file. In this case, I'm using the Kafka client. And I will be using this key tab for the Mirror Maker connection. I'm specifying the key tab location, which is the same that I have here, mirrormaker.keytab. The service name, Kafka, and the principal, it's the same principal that I show you in the klist command. So after that, I have a consumer.properties file, and the content in this case is the cluster A. In my cluster A, I configured the listeners as plaintext SASL, and they are listening on port 6668. So as Mirror Maker is a consumer producer, the consumer from where we are getting the data, it will be these two brokers. Okay. Then I specify my group ID for this consumer, which will be called Mirror Maker group. And I specify the security.protocol, which is the plaintext SASL, as this is a Kerberized cluster connection. On the other hand, I have my producer.properties file. And in this case, instead of pointing to the source cluster, we have to use exactly the same bootstrap servers, and we have to specify the brokers from my destination. In my destination, I have 3 brokers, and they are listening on port 6668. The key serializer, you can use the available in the documentation. In my case, I just use byte array serializer. And the security protocol is plaintext SISL. Okay. So with that in place, let me show you in my cluster, which is the source cluster, the topic that I have. In my source cluster, I created this topic, which is called Mirror Maker Topic 1. And here there are 2 options. You can create this topic manually in your cluster destination cluster, or you can use the command auto enable topic creation. Then the client, if has the permissions, it will be able to create this topic when you run the Mirror Maker command. But the recommendation here is to make sure to have this topic available, so just create manually if possible. So if I go here and I run this command, I just created manually my destination cluster. So if I go here, this is HDF, and I execute this list command, but I change the host to my destination, and I do list, you will see that the topic is already here. So make sure of that. Finally, in order to run Kafka Mirror Maker, we have to run the Kafka run class shell. We have to specify the Kafka tools Mirror Maker. And the files that we created, the consumer.properties and producer.properties, has to be specified with these commands. Basically, consumer.config has to point to the consumer.properties file, which contains my broker configuration from the source cluster, and then my producer config, which contains my destination broker IDs. I mean the broker hosting port. And then finally, we have to provide the whitelist. I mean the topics that we will be consuming. And in this case, it's Mirror Maker topic 1. So let's run this command. I forgot to mention that before running this command, I have to export. And I can do this. Export the Kafka OPTs. And with this Java option, which is the authentication login configuration, I have to specify my just configuration. Okay, so let me run this before running the Mirror Maker command. And now I can run my Mirror Maker command. Okay, here it is. So now Mirror Maker has created my consumer and producer. So how it works? Basically, if we go here, as you can see, in the source cluster, if I run a producer pointing to the broker list in the source cluster, pointing to the topic, and I will leave that running there. And in this terminal, I will be running the consumer, but pointing to my destination cluster. Okay. I'm pointing to the topic that is running in there. So I will put the consumer there. So if I send a message to that topic in my source cluster, let's say test 1, as Mirror Maker is running here, as you can see, I'm receiving the message connect with a consumer to the destination cluster. So that is how Mirror Maker works. Basically, send messages to the source cluster with any client, but if I consume from the same topic in my destination cluster, I will get that message here. Thanks for watching.